Hello my friends, Paul here in the RoJoBe Music Workshop, and welcome to part 2 of the Tumbi build project. Okay, so part 1 really was just an introduction showing the materials that I've bought to do this project, and what it is I'm making. I've got the coconut shells for the body, and I've got these that I made square stock to make the neck. Okay, so I'm going to make a small confession. I have done a bit of the work off camera. Some of the jobs I did, they're noisy, messy, and quite time consuming. But to be honest, I did get a little bit carried away. So let me show you where we're up to at the moment. So this is the coconut shell, which is going to be the body, and I've cut the hole in the top here. I've also now cut the hole at the other end. So we've got a hole at the top and a hole at the bottom. Now, what I was noticing was where I'd cut the first hole, which is the top, basically, I had cut it a little bit too far down, and it was causing issues with aligning the neck. It was just too far down. Now, obviously, you can't move a hole, so what I ended up doing was actually slicing a bit off the top edge. So I cut this off of the top edge. It's about 4 to 4.5 mil. I didn't actually make any measurements. I did it by eye, really. I wanted to, this part at the top here, I wanted this to be shorter so that the neck was closer to the top. So I cut this off on my bandsaw, and it's worked out it's about 4 to 4.5 millimeters I've cut off, and that's made it to the right position now. And as I said, I've got the hole in the top and in the bottom. This hole, I did it the same way as the top one, but it's ended up slightly out of shape. It's not a problem. I mean, I'll be able to sort that out. But it's just not as good as the first one, strangely enough. But like I said, I'll be able to sort it out. So the other part is the neck. So I'm starting with these square stock. They're about 23 millimeters each way, just shy of an inch. And so off camera, I have already rounded the shaft that's going through the body. So I cut this down on my lathe, my homemade lathe. And as I said, it's very, very noisy. It's very messy. There's lots of dust, which I don't want getting in my camera. It's quite time consuming. So I didn't video this. So I've turned it down to round on the lathe, and the shoulders here, I've made those nice and neat, and I've rounded the end off a little bit, just the sort of the edge of it. Oh, excuse me. And you probably can't see it, but from here to here there is a very, very, very light taper. So it is 18 mil there. It's about 18.5 to 19 mil at the top. So there's a very, very delicate taper. So that when I fit it into the body, the coconut shell, it will kind of wedge in. So I've done this part. I'll show you how that fits in a minute. I've also roughed out the shape of the headstock. So I've kind of gone with this kind of angle, and I've got the shoulders here, and I've also angled it back like guitar headstocks and ukuleles, etc. So I've got an 11 degree angle there, which seems to be about right. I mean, guitars tend to be a little bit more. I've measured one or two that I've got here, and it seems to be between 13 and 15 degrees, or 13 and 14 actually. This one is only 11. Obviously, you know, it's a tiny headstock. That's about, let's just measure that quickly. It's about 30 mil long, I think. Actually, it's 38 millimeters, so about 1.5 inches. So not a very big headstock, but obviously it's only getting the one tuner, which is going to be, you know, this style tuner that I've already showed. I've got this in pieces at the moment because I've been using it to sort of, you know, act as a template. Now, let me just put that back together quickly. So normally the tuners, you know, this is obviously the tuning peg, and then you've got the post that comes out here. Now normally the way you set it, the way you put tuners on, the tuning part will be above the post. Okay, it's just the way, you know, they're put on. So when you put tuners onto any instrument, usually the tuning peg will be above the post, which goes in here. Now, for this, that will cause a couple of issues. Okay, so if I put it on the front just so you can see where it ends up. Okay, so the post would be here, which is very, very close to where, you know, what would normally be the nut. And I haven't decided whether or not I will be fitting a nut in this, because traditionally these instruments don't have a nut. I may or may not put one in. I don't know yet. It depends how it ends up. So if I put the tuner this way, the normal way, so that the tuning peg is above the post is going to be too close to this area here, and as such too high, if that makes sense. The hole that goes through where you put the string through, that would end up too high, and that would bring the action up, and the customer has specified it wants quite low action. So for the purpose of these instruments, rather than having the tuning peg above the post, I'm going to turn it around so that the post is higher up towards the top end of the headstock. And because of this angle, that will bring it down, if that makes sense. It will bring the post further down than, well, not further down than this part, but down enough so that we don't get the issue here. And also, I don't know how well you can see, but the bottom, as you look at it, is a little bit wider than the top. I mean, this, you know, this part here. So the bottom, as you look at it, is wider than this top part across there. It's a bit wider. So because I've tapered this, again, if I have the, sorry, wait. If I have it the conventional way, the taper goes the opposite way. So by turning it over again, the taper of this headstock follows the taper of this backing plate. Does that make sense? I hope so. So yeah, I'm going to be basically putting the tuner in upside down, but it doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter. And it's going to look better, it's going to work better, and it's just, you know, it's all going to fit together better. Oh, so as I said, I've got the two holes in the coconut shell. I've rounded the shaft that goes through. So now, okay, it goes in the first hole there. Got to give it a little bit of a wiggle to get it through, and then once it's through, goes into the bottom hole, and just wiggle it in a little bit, and you can see it sticks out a little bit. That's about exactly what I wanted. No more than half an inch, or sort of 10, 12, 13 mil. And if I now straighten it up, ish. That's almost there. Okay, so it's straight that way, more or less. And I think you can see that that's starting to come together now. And as I said, we've got a little bit poking out the end there, which is exactly what I wanted. Now, where I attached this thing to my lathe, obviously there were, at each end, there was, points where it went into the lathe. So I filled those in. So that's got filler in it, and that will be covered up by the bracket that holds the string anyway. And this end, I put dowels in there and glued those in. So obviously, because I had to put holes in the ends of this to mount it into my lathe, I've now had to fill the holes in, and they'll be absolutely fine. And you see, that fits in there like a glove. So, that's the stage I'm at the moment. I've got the neck fitted into the body, and as I said, I've roughed out the headstock shape. It's still very square at the moment. I'll have to, round off the edges, and I've started to, sort of shape this a little bit. That still needs some work. So this now is going to be the fingerboard. It is already level and flat, and I've sanded it a bit, so it's nice and smooth now. It will still need some more, so that's the fingerboard. But what I want to do now is shape the back of this, put a nice curve on it, so that certainly at this edge here, it's going to kind of match this part here. And so it's kind of difficult to show. So this is the top, and then the sides will kind of taper in towards the back and then be rounded over to make this the back of the neck nice and sort of rounded, smooth, comfortable. Because at the moment it's square and it's not very nice. So that's what I need to do now. So I'll just very carefully take that back out there. Put the coconut shell to one side. So I now have to start to shape this neck. So let me just put some light on first of all, and then bring the camera down. So I'm going to start using my Shinto saw rasp. Absolutely love this tool. Just to take off the corners, if you like, at the back. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to use the Shinto to take off the corners. Make sure I get the right edge. Try and use the rough side, the coarse side I should say. And I've got to be really careful as well not to damage this headstock, so I'm going to go the other way and hold on to the headstock so that I don't cause any damage to that. Yeah, it's a bit, that coarse side is too coarse, just catching. So, as I said, I just start by taking off the corners. This, as I said before, if I was using that dowel that I bought, the necks would take no time at all. But because I'm doing all of this by hand from square stock, it's going to take a long time. And this is only the first one. As I said, the customer has already commissioned 5 of them, and I'm pretty sure there will be others. Hopefully I'll be able to do some of them with the dowel rods instead of doing this. I don't mind doing this. I quite enjoy this work. It's just that it's very time consuming. this will take quite a long time. It is satisfying, don't get me wrong, especially when you start to see it take shape, and once you do, it doesn't take very much longer after that. Once you started to get the basic shape, just this initial part of beginning the shape. This is what takes the time, really. Well, not only this, I mean, the final details, getting out all the little lumps and bumps and divots, making sure it's nice and even, and probably what I will try to do as well is make it a little bit shallower this way towards the headstock. I want to take out this hump a little bit, so I'll probably try and taper it so that it's shallower there than it is at this end, but we'll see how it goes. As I said, this shaping it by hand, it is really satisfying. I do enjoy doing it, and it does take some time, but when you see the end result, very satisfying. So, as I said, I'm using the Shinto rasp. I've got a few other rasps and files here as well, but I do like this tool. Yeah, got to be careful not to mark that shaft as well. Just nicked it a little bit there, but I'll get away with that. And these tools, they're amazing. If you don't have one and you work with wood, you should have one. They're not cheap, they're fairly expensive for what they are. Not stupidly so. But you'll probably pay for one of these what you would for a full set of ordinary rasps. But these are just so much better. I mean, I don't know if I've shown it before, but it's basically a cross between a saw and a rasp, and that's why it's called a Shinto saw rasp, because it's got saw-like teeth on it. So it does make short work of this kind of job. It cuts through pretty quickly, and also fairly accurately, to be fair. And because it's got a coarse side and I'm going to say less coarse side, you can regulate how quickly or carefully you shave off the wood. Okay. Well, we're nowhere near there yet, but it's starting to get the corners off at least. I mean, it's going to take a lot more time and effort to complete that, which I'm going to do off camera. You can see what I'm doing there. It's not something that's all that interesting to watch. Depending on where I get to, I might begin part 3 with kind of the finer details of smoothing it all off. But all I'm doing here, as I said, is I'm just taking off the corners to start to round the back edge of the neck over. And it does take time, so I'm going to take my time and make sure I do a really neat job of that. And once that's done, it will be time really to I think I'll probably do finalise the headstock before I actually fit the whole thing into the body, because that's the other thing as well. This coconut shell is probably, for the most part, 3mm thick, maybe a little bit more in places, which means the holes where the shaft goes through, there really isn't much there to glue to. It's about 3mm thick. So obviously you've got the concern then of, let me just wiggle that back in, if the glue breaks away, you're going to end up with this kind of thing happening. It'll get all loose, and it will just twist. So because there's not much area to glue to through these holes, I mean, it probably will be okay, once the glue's set, because you know the wood glue I use is really good. But I am going to strengthen the joints. Basically, I'm going to put something on the inside of the hole, around the shaft as well, which will, you know, strengthen the joint. I won't go into too much detail right now. I'll explain it when I get to that point. And that should really help to stabilize the joint, make it nice and strong, and it shouldn't break away so that the neck, you know, twists like that. So I'm gonna mostly finish this off camera. As I said, I might film like some of the finer details when I get to that, because that will be at the same time as giving some nice shape and detail to the headstock. So probably in part 3, you know, I'll be doing the finer details on the neck and the headstock, and then fitting the whole thing in the body. Still quite a way to go on this yet, still quite a lot of work to do, and even when I get to that stage there's still a fair bit to do. So that will be coming soon. Hope you're enjoying this. If you are, please like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. And I hope you're enjoying this project as much as I am, and I'm really looking forward to getting much further on this, and eventually showing the customer what I've come up with, and possibly get a wow or two. Okay, so part 3 coming soon. In the meantime, please look after yourselves, look after each other. We will see you soon. Peace out.